Refresh. 2 showers a day. Drink filtered water. Eat prunes. Exercise a couple times a week. Start somewhere. Push-ups. Get strong. I don't know. Hit a bag. Don't hit people. That was lightning. How close was that? I don't know. Anyways, this is what it is. Shit. We get a lot of lightning. Here's what it is. Tonight, we got a very special guest. Um, that thunder is shaking the building. God approves of this lounge. God approves of this lounge. God will not be mocked. That's it. Get right with God. I can't stress that enough. Admit you're a sinner and turn around from your life of debauchery. Right? Come on. Come on. Here's what it is. Nice to meet you, Gio. Nice to meet you, Chewy. Woo. We got a storm coming. I feel a storm coming around the bend. Just changing up a little song there. All right. All right. Are we fresh, everyone? Yes, we're fresh. Yes, we are fresh. Here it comes. Here comes the rooster, baby. Yeah. Well, we see. We're going to have an exciting time tonight, as we always do. But, Gio, you talk a lot of shit, Gio. It is what it is. All right. Without further ado, make sure you're smoking your best shit. Mm-hmm. It's what it is. Wow. We got a storm coming, baby. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you said that. You're smoking a Cortado. That's what I'm lighting up. A refreshing, beautiful, um, medium strength cigar. It's fantastic. And Gio, I don't know if Gio. Hey, what's up, bro?
Doing well, Damon. How are you?
I'm magical. Hey, this time around, do we make sure we got the phone charged for better connection, or?
Yeah, we're 100%.
Okay,
So
that's good. Yeah, yeah. Worst case, if we have to switch to your other phone number, if you got the other phone charged, because I keep my phone plugged in the whole time, because I find as the phones lose battery, it's slow. The phones are not ready for this live stuff without a plug. I think in the future the phones will get better, but when they use the FaceTime Live like this, they use a lot of juice. They use a lot.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you're right about that.
Hey, what's up? How you been, bro?
Things are good. Things are good. Can't complain. Yeah, it hadn't been that long since the last one, but
well, that's the way we want to keep it, man. It's not just okay. You're from General, and like it's nice to talk about things in business, and just I have a lot of questions today. But also, as a regular guy, hey, man, I want you to have fun and be one of the guys here, hang out.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I was really glad when you extended the invite. Because I mean, we sat around, talked, had a drink. Like it's exactly what I want to do on a Monday night. You know what I mean? So
I'm not better than anyone here, but I'm not worse. So that you know what I'm saying, though. So and that, if I'm being nice, not better than anyone here, but if someone starts, talking shit, I'm like, I'm not worse than you either. And
yeah. First among equals, right?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about this spread I made for myself? Look at that. Look at that.
Oh my gosh! You made
right?
that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I made this. I got watermelon. I got kumquats. I got cherries, and I got kiwis. That's delicious. Man. Look at it.
That's amazing. That's a whole with the cortado. We got to take a screenshot. We got to get. Oh, that's incredible.
This is what I call smoking cigars the healthy way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how a doctor would have you do it, I think.
Yeah. But just in case, so tonight we're gonna have a little fun. We do have a little Jack Daniel's Gentleman Jack. It's a little smoother than regular. And I never really drink during the week, but tonight I'll give myself one flex. And cheers to you. Cheers to everyone. Sacco. God bless everyone. All right, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking. This is actually from Rabbit Hole. That's the cigar that we are the distillery we do the diesel whiskey row with. This is a bottle of their box. I forget if it's the Boxer Gold or the high or the Boxer Gold or the High Gold, but
How much does that bottle go for?
I think like 50 or $60.
So, and that's for American whiskey. I always say, like, let's say, for example, like a $50 American whiskey would be like a $70 Scotch whiskey because no importation tax and less shipping, right?
Absolutely right.
That's if the whiskey, both whiskeys are priced appropriately, meaning if some American whiskey that's only worth 20, and when you say worth, all the best way to do it, because it's not gold here, is to compare it to its competitors. So whether
Right.
you're Glenlivet 12 or Glenfiddich 12, they're in the same ballpark, right? But if you go from like uh, um, what's that word? Is a Scotch with a D, a really cheap Scotch. I don't want to call them out, but like you have
Right.
White Horse, Crazy Horse, White Horse, and then you have what's the really cheap Scotches? Really cheap.
Clan McGregor is what I
Yeah,
used to drink in college, which was that was like $20 for a handle of it or something.
right. You got Evan Williams on the American side.
Right.
But there's some really cheap Scotch. What's the word? What's the one? It's only a 6-year age Scotch, because that's the lowest they're allowed to do out of Scotland.
Right.
To be called Scotch, it has to be at least, whether blend or not blend or single malt or a blend of single malts, it has to be at least 6 years or it can't be called Scotch. But that's still young for like Johnny Red, 6 years. That's why you don't
Yeah.
see Johnny Red at 4 years. Why? They're not allowed to be called Scotch. They could call it, I guess, Scottish whiskey, but they wouldn't be called Scotch.
Right.
There's a lot of rules with Scotch. People don't realize, and their proofs are all government inspectors. Like there's no that happened like if almost like imagine if the U.S. government came to every cigar factory and they
Cool.
make if you say it's 18-year tobacco, if you lie, you're out of business. It's like like they check.
Oh yeah. I was reading there was some people using like pieces of wood. They weren't even aging it in cognac barrels or something, but they were using pieces of wood from cognac barrels in their barrels, and the authorities were like, don't do it. You're not allowed. I mean, they are really strict over there.
Yeah, I think with cigars, I think the proof is in the cigar smoker. Because here's the thing: the more you smoke cigars, the better your palate becomes. The more you drink, the more just drunk you get. Unless if you just
Right.
do like what I'm doing here. Look at this lightning over here. I only do one drink. So when I have one drink, I'm becoming an experienced drinker. I'm not getting drunk. I keep my mind about me. If you're drinking a bottle a night, it doesn't matter what you're drinking. If you're
No.
drinking Johnny Red or Johnny Blue, you're gonna be screwed up tomorrow. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you could burn your palate out for sure. If you smoke 6 cigars in a row, you're not going to get as much on the last one. But
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, but it's you're completely right about that. I mean, it's way different. Yeah, I tend to be if I'm just at home. I'm usually kind of a one drink guy myself. Maybe maybe
Try to
maybe
win now.
what's that? A
It's
wind
win.
towel. That is smart.
Yeah, you can see my matches flying everywhere. So I'll tell you what a great cigar the Cortado is, and what a great value.
Oh my gosh, no, it's incredible. It's got that really nice, rich, creamy. I love Ecuadorian shade. I think it rivals, might even be better than a lot of the Connecticut shade out there. I mean, it's
I think for the price, you could add more of the cost into the aging versus the labor in Connecticut and have a better tobacco. Does that make any sense?
absolutely agree. I mean, everything coming out of Connecticut. You're right. The labor, the land. I mean, it's all
So something's got to give. And I'm not saying true Connecticut can't be amazing. It can. I'll tell you what, and I'm not, I know we're here about general and everything else, but we'll talk about everything else. Nick Belio with Charter Oak is one of the best cheap Connecticut's. He really does a great job for like $6, $7. And,
oh yeah,
are some great, but that's one of those situations where he said, I'm trying to give this as a gift to the smoker. Normally, a $6 Connecticut at a lounge is not going to be good. But in
right.
this case, you know what I'm saying? No, it's the same thing when Cortado came out. Like I was a little leery, and then I have it. I'm like, well, this is way better than your price point. It's a gift. Because when you set up the board, you can be like, we're going to screw the people on this. We're going to send our kids to college on this cigar.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, no, that's I love his stuff. I love that. I mean, he knows broadleaf like the back of his hand too. Like the Tabernacle Lancero is one of my favorites. The what is it, CT 642? I might be getting the number wrong, but
Well, you have the Tabernacle, you have the Habano, you have the Standard, and then you have the David and Goliath. All great stuff. And then you have the Olmec. He's one of those guys, as far as higher end stuff, there's no bullshit. I will say this, because I'll be in all fair, I did not like his Jamaican tobacco cow tongue, and it was called the Trendsetters or the Upsetters, and I did not like that. But I get it. He wanted to make an experimental cigar, so it's not like you put it like with the Olmec or something like that. It's almost like an infused cigar with like weird Jamaican. It's called cow tongue tobacco, and I couldn't process it, and I threw it over the balcony. So I know the guy's a genius blender, so I'm not even mad on that. It was probably a passion project to see if he could do whatever. I don't know if there's a little ganja in that. I don't know, but you know, have you ever had cow tongue tobacco?
I haven't had cow tongue tobacco, but it is. Well, I mean, I don't think I have, but it's funny you mention it. I am smoking. I like to smoke something. I mean, you got me to pull out the old like the 15-year-old Cohiba last time.
Yeah.
So this is a Macanudo vintage 1984. I don't know if that's clear or not, but
Is that the one that came in that big box of the 4 different kinds?
yeah. At one point, yep.
Yeah.
And but this was rolled, and this has got some Jamaican in the filler, and it was rolled in Jamaica. This was back when General Cigar was still in Jamaica, and Macanudos were Jamaican, and so it's kind of cool.
I didn't know that General was Jamaican. I thought Macanudo was a brand, and then it got bought up by General and moved to Dominican. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I mean General. So I know. Hey, this is another like don't quote me situation, but I know they moved. There was a big storm in Jamaica, and a lot of stuff got knocked out, and I think there was some economic considerations, cost of labor, cost of land, like all that stuff. So I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, it was owned by the Coleman family back through all of it. It wasn't a buyout or anything. I think it was the storm as much as anything. All their stuff got wiped out, and they were like, for whatever reason, it's cheaper to rebuild in the DR. But
So that blend, that's an actual cigar from '84, or how does that work with that cigar there?
so it's the tobaccos are from '84. Some of them in the filler. It's the vintage, but I this was rolled at some point in the '90s. I'm not sure when exactly this one got released, but because so it was this was released in the '90s. So I mean, it's got at least probably close to 30 years of age on it.
Cigars like that, or I try to tell guys about Connecticut. Even though not my favorite, I like for stronger cigars. But just like in anything else, whether it's music or martial arts or being with a woman, if you only do it one way, you got to be able to enjoy, the power, but also you got to be able to listen to a whisper. And when you smoke lighter cigars, it teaches you to listen to like almost the silence. There's still flavor there. There can still be some strength, but I feel like if you, it's almost like the movie Pocahontas. Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Like if you don't smoke Connecticut's, I'm not saying even like 10%, you're gonna miss out because Connecticut's make your Maduro feel stronger. You know what I'm saying though?
Absolutely.
You miss out, and it also gives your palate a break.
Yeah, and some of these guys, I think if all you smoke is full, and I love full bodied cigars. I love La Florida Dominicana. I love our diesels.
Yeah.
But if all you smoke is the fullest bodied stuff, it becomes a quest. Like, okay, what can top it? What can one up it? And you're right. You need to reset at some point. You need to sort of say, look, let's establish a baseline on the other end of this. Let's don't just burn the crap out of my tongue, and that's it. And,
Look,
and I love
bridge needs both sides. You know what I'm
yeah
saying? Or else you can't come back. In a way, it gives you a chance to come back. You know what I'm saying? Though it does because if you just go full Partagas Black, Cohiba Black, Padron 64, Maduro, etc., etc. If you just go full strength, full darkness all the time,
yeah
uh, great cigars. The cigars I prefer, but these cigars pull you in a little bit, like an anchor. They pull you back, and you kind of get refreshed. And then when you come back, it makes those Maduro even more exciting. You know what I'm saying? Though it's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like Men in Black when the guy goes like this and erases the memory.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cigar.
No, you're right. It's a reset. Like
I
it's
don't lie. I don't lie. I don't lie.
no, like what do they say in the Bible? There's a time for all seasons, right?
Yeah.
Time to be born,
There's
time
a
to
time,
die.
time to kill. There's a time to live. There's a time
Hmm.
for etiquettes. There's a time for Maduro. There's a time for example, if it's wartime, killing's allowed to survive. If it's time, you go to prison. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Now, we're not talking about self defense because that's a momentary battle. That's different. You know what I'm saying?
right.
If so- that person changed the clock. If someone's robbing you, they change the clock. Your clock went from peacetime to wartime. You know what I'm saying? No.
Yeah, it's a declaration of war. Yeah, it's
It is. You almost be like, yeah, it's a small. You're right. It's a one man battle. It is what it is. I can't
so.
stress it. Now I got something today. I hope you came prepared
Oh yeah.
because I had 15 minutes after the gym before I came here. These are all the questions I have for you,
Oh man.
and there's a bonus question on the side. So here's the thing.
Okay.
Now, of course, we're gonna have the guys if they want to ask questions. Absolutely, we'll get them in there. But I have reasons to these questions, and they're not going to be what you think. Because last time you were here, we established about your job and etc. and
Right.
why or why general, and this it's all important. But now we're going to dig deeper into your mind, and I'm not sure if you're ready for this. I went easy on you the first time because I wasn't ready. What's up, Johnny Bosco? Hey, Johnny Bosco, appreciate that. Johnny Bosco flexed on us the other day. He sent us some really nice cigars. It was the Joy de Nicaragua 5 pack. I never had them in all different sizes, so I'm going to review those like in 5 separate videos and see how the size changes the blend. You know what I'm saying, though?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, I guess there's a difference between a 5 foot woman at 200 pounds and a 7 foot woman at 200 pounds. but, but it is. I mean, hey, whatever you like, you like. I don't give a shit, man.
Right. No,
Okay.
it's yeah. You're right.
What is best in life? Not your life. What's best in life? What's your theory? What is best in life?
Oh. You really went from 0 to 60 on that. That's
I thought I was going to mess with your mind. Have a drink. Sit down.
what
It's
what
that
is
the door just got locked. Now you can't leave. All right.
yeah. If I get uncomfortable, I'll start trying to. Oh, it's the reception's going out. But
Yeah, but
um,
we're on the live right now, so there's no way out. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, it's gotta be other people.
Okay.
Uh, you know what I mean? It's none of us are supposed to just be here by ourselves, and so I know that that's a little open-ended, but it's, I mean, your friends, your
But
romantic
even
partner.
your enemies give you a chance to sharpen iron, but also your enemies give you a chance to forgive them as well, or regroup afterwards if you get into an argument, because it teaches us something. You know what I'm saying? Though, not to get biblical, but I will. It says God will forgive us as we forgive others. So if you just are good to people that are good to you, they say even the pagans do that. But if someone crosses you and you're like, that really bothered me, but that power right there, you have a chance to not play God, but you have a chance to look at it like Him. Whenever you like you screw up, or maybe you stole something, or you took your neighbor's wife, and God's like, "Why should I forgive you?" I'm not advocating to steal cars and steal your neighbor's wife. What I'm just trying to say is, it gives you a chance when someone wrongs you to be like, you know, what I'm saying, it is. It doesn't mean you like what they did at all, but it kind of gives you a it's like when you have kids, your kids are gonna do stupid things, right? My daughter, God bless, she hasn't done really that many stupid things. But kids, it's the
Yeah,
big thing my father taught me. He said, "If I ever catch you stealing, I'll kill you on the spot." And I was like 10 years old. No joke. My father worked for the Gambinos. His father did in the cement business. Not joke. My father's like, "Oh, a thief can never be trusted. Never steal, kid." And like he was dead serious. Like I would never steal from my dad. Like
yeah.
Like he wasn't playing. Like he wasn't like if
Well,
you
I
tell
think
me 10-year-old you're not
right. I mean, I think a lot of people though, like you like you say, you could tell he wasn't being played with, and all these. this like really gentle kind of parenting, like at a point with a kid, and I'm not a parent, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but at a point with a kid, you've just got to say, look, here is the deal. You've got to let them know it's not a game. You're not playing. I remember one time I was uh, didn't happen to me, but the story is, a friend of mine was hitting a bush with a tennis racket, and
Right.
his dad came around and he said, "Hey, stop doing that." His kid's like, "All right," and then dad went away and he's still hitting the bush with the tennis racket. And this happened a couple more times, and finally the dad says, "Look, if I catch you hitting the bush with the tennis racket one more time, I'm gonna hit you with the tennis racket." And the kid's like, "All right," and then the dad comes back, and later on, the kid's backside looks like a waffle. But he knew his dad was serious, and he never hit the bush again. Like that.
Let him know in life when he gets older that saved him. You know how many people have been killed in a bar or killed in a mall parking lot because you mouth off to the wrong guy, and that guy is like, "Hey, I don't care about going back to prison." Well, you know what? I don't care about my life anymore. So that tennis bush would be the next asshole when he grows up, road rage, whatever it is. Well,
Yeah,
you just do whatever you want. Like, you know what I'm saying though? Like you can for a little bit. Like it's one because most people that are getting doing stupid stuff, it's for stupid reasons. I more respect the guy that if he has to do something is a real reason. Like, oh, you know what this guy did, yeah, but for no reason. Like, just you don't just break beautiful things for no reason. Like, I don't mind people hunting. Hunting's a great thing if you're going to eat it, right? But
right.
you're not, shoot puppies. To be that's a terrible thing.
Yeah,
There's a difference. There's a morality to it. You understand what I'm saying? Though?
absolutely. No, there's an order. Absolutely, totally agree.
All right. So what is the best thing in your life, hands down? You got 5 seconds to answer. What's the best thing in your life right now?
Best thing in my life,
Right
all the great relationships.
now. Okay.
And that's kind of a cop out because it's a lot like my last answer, but that really is true. I just got done, spent the weekend up on the Shenandoah River with two of my best friends. I've known them for years. They brought their girlfriends. My wonderful girlfriend came with me as well. And you can't beat that. And it was it was a nice house, but like you could be at the Ritz Carlton by yourself, and it wouldn't be a tenth as meaningful or relaxing or anything like that. So that's sort of a cop out. Although I will also, I just bought this John boat, so that's
Nice.
pretty cool too. But
That's good.
but
So, what's a cigar red flag for you? Not as a company. If you're at a lounge, we already agree about too much humidity. That's a red flag. So I'm not going to give you that easy answer. What's a red flag? Now, obviously, we're not going to make you talk bad about any other company or bad about your own company. But just in general, what's a red flag for you?
I will say there, you if there's a real gimmick going on, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad cigar. There are some gimmicky cigars that are actually really good, but if there's some crazy gimmick, maybe not. And I'm not talking about the tobacco so much. Like there are people that call CAO Amazon Basin a gimmick. Well, it's
Right.
not a gimmick. It's the only cigar in the world with that tobacco in it, and it's a great cigar. Um, but I mean, like some kind of we've the cigar is wearing a suit of armor, and it's like this and that. And like you might have lost the point a little bit, at a certain point. Like if the cigar is really good, you could.
Construction. Like when I see, because I can only go by my eyes first before my tongue, before my mind.
Right.
Cigars go like this: eyes, tongue, then mind. Right. The
Hmm.
wallet, that's an external thing because you shouldn't be having the wallet inside your body unless you're smuggling shit into prison. That's another story. Right? So if your cigar looks terrible, like you know what I'm saying, I don't care if the band's nice or it's expensive. If it looks like it was rolled on an ugly Monday, I'm like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? No, it's like at a certain point, price points really, I expect more when it comes to construction. Now the flavor we'll find out afterwards. That's a secondary. But if something looks hideous, I understand there's can always be a bad one in the bunch, but there are certain companies or levels of brands where that's where the quality control comes into it. You know what I'm saying? Though,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. I mean, if
so
if you're not sorting decent wrapper, if you're not all that discerning in the tobaccos you're choosing, that's a great one. That's actually probably a better one than I said because, like I said, there are some good gimmicky cigars, but that's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, well, it depends on your version of a gimmick. Some people would say that's a cool idea, where other people might say, well, you know what, having a chilling mousse on a cigar that might be a little gimmicky, but at the same time, you understand the cigar and the brand, and it's been out for a while. It's not a gimmick cigar. You know what I'm saying? No, and it's kind of cool. It's just a big mousse chilling out, and you're like, put it this way. To me, if the brand or the banding match what it is. Like for example, if your brand was called Dangerous Moose and it's a Connecticut, you're like, this is not a dangerous cigar. You know what I'm saying? No.
right.
But it's called Chilling Moose. The moose is like, yo, what's up? You know, saying no, like and he's chilling out. It's a Connecticut. Now, if you ever make a really scary one, you should make one like a dangerous moose or 3-time felon moose, third strike moose. I don't know. Like I'm not going back moose. You know what I'm saying? No,
Yeah, 20 to life moose.
exactly. Death
Yeah.
death penalty moose. I know the company's not going to do this, but it is what it is.
No, that's funny. Yeah, I mean that's a one of the things I think people like about that cigar is that it's in English, and a lot of guys that don't speak Spanish like they don't want to go up and say, oh, can I have the I don't know how to say this, but they know how to say chilla moose, and there's no. I think people it kind of meets people where they're comfortable. I mean, it's silly for sure. It's a
But if
funny.
you also want to expand people's language capabilities, perhaps it says chilling moose on the back. You could say chilling moose in Espanol to teach them.
That's a good thought. I will have to ask. Got a call tomorrow with some folks at the factory, so I'll ask them.
I don't know how you say chilling moose. You know, like hecho hermano, but then you have like made by hand. You know, but
Yeah, that's
it,
funny.
now you feel that you are a fully aware cigar smoker right now in this moment. Do you feel you're a fully aware cigar smoker, fully aware of everything you're doing before you buy, while you buy, when you're smoking it. What I fully aware is you take accountability. For example, touch ups. Stop blaming the cigar. There's a chance it was your fault. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And we could go down the line. And maybe it was too moist, and you're blaming the. Because people most times people buy General a lot of stores because General's a lot of stores. So I always hear, oh, touch ups. So it's a bad draw. They don't draw well. It's because the lounge is. I went to a lounge Saturday. 78% humidity in the corner. It was 80% the Padrones. I could go top to bottom. I could squish it so much the fingers could touch without the cigar. Every cigar was a sponge.
yeah,
80 humidity.
that's a problem. Yeah,
Now that bothered me. 80% humidity. I mean, long term storage. Oh, and 77 degrees.
what? They keeping their cigars in a sauna? What is the
Yeah.
point of?
At this point, it's a vacation destination in there.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You go in there with the robe. You just sit down. You're like,
I'd smoke a cigar here if it would stay lit. Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
that's insane.
nothing there. One thing was stay. So I did buy something there that was brand new in the cellophane. So I knew it wasn't there long. But anything in an open box, like cellophane or no cellophane, the Padrones, the Generals, every cigar was, I mean, like a wet sponge. I could not believe it. And it wasn't normally like that, but I haven't been there in like 2-3 months. But they just expanded and they doubled the size. And they bought the next,
Mhm.
and I think they doubled the humidity, and it just
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
mold on them. Like they were starting off with that white mold.
Yeah, I was at a shop somewhere, and I won't say where, but they had some really cool stuff, really old stuff. One of those shops I call a cigar museum.
Yeah,
It's like, oh my gosh, where did you guys even get this? And probably they bought it 15 years ago and just hadn't sold it yet. But like, yeah, there was stuff in the corners, especially just was gross. I mean, so there was like, there's stuff I want to buy here, but I really got to check this out and make sure it's not gonna mess my humidor up or something. I mean, that's rough.
yeah, that's a terrible thing, man. Um, all right, do you feel like has this show brought more awareness to you as cigar smoking? I mean, we talked about the dry boxing just in general. You know,
Yeah,
heat.
absolutely. I mean, I knew that you could over humidify a cigar for sure. I mean, but it hadn't occurred to me that shops were doing it. But then I think back and I go, yeah, I was sweating in that place. Like that place was hot and humid. It was because we've got a small walk-in in the office, and that stays at 69 the whole time. We've got a guy works for the company. Shout out to Matt Davenport. He does amazing work. He does everything. He's like this MacGyver kind of guy, just solves problems. But he worked for a while at retail, and he knows what he's doing. And so our humidor consistently 69%.
And what's the temperature?
Temperature is in the upper 60s.
So that's fine then. You know what I'm saying though?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they're about even temperature and humidity, so it's good. But no, I mean, since you and I have been talking, like I've definitely tried the dry box. If we get a couple cigars in, I'll smoke one that day, and I'll put one on my desk um, for a day. For a couple days.
It's
It
like
has opened my eyes.
kind of like a steak. You take it out of the fridge, you got to let it, get room temperature. That's how it is. I'm not saying you got to dry box forever, but it really helps if I would spice because when a cigar's wet, you lose a lot of that spice.
Yeah,
When I had that Bolivar Vera Republica the second time, I got much more spice and a lot more wood note, which it wasn't there when I first great, but I just got it now. And when I give it like 2 days, I, okay. So next, new Partagas. What could you talk about this new green Partagas?
yeah, the Partagas Valle Verde. That's a really cool cigar. I
That's
am.
your cigar. That's a forged cigar, correct?
Mhm, that's correct. So that's it's not my brand. I should have come better prepared, but I forget what's in the filler. That
Okay.
that eludes me. But
Well, we can get the guys. Guys, somebody, can we get a brand? Can we get a cigar check on IL 12? Can we get a? So somebody's smoking it. Anthony smoking it right now. Who designed that blend, and what was the thinking behind?
yeah, so the what really sings in that blend is the binder and the wrapper. So the binder is this aged Cameroon. The
Nice.
the wrapper is a San Andreas. It's Mexican San Andreas. It's not rich like the Cohiba Riviera. I mean, it's a good wrapper. I'm not knocking it, but it's not that. Whoa, that's San Andreas. It's subtle. It's got some age on it. It doesn't. It's not quite as strong of a leaf.
Maybe a lower.
Um, yeah, and so you get this really cool kind of back and forth between the Cameroon and the
Esteli
oh,
filler.
Esteli filler. Okay, got it.
If you went with a stronger wrapper, it would overdo the Cameroon. Cameroon, it's like Tom Cruise. It's not really a tall guy. If you put a real strong rapper, you know what I'm saying? No, like you know what I'm saying? It's going to overdo it. You can't have two. If Cameroon's going to be as a binder, the rapper, if it's too strong, you're not going to hear it. You know what I'm saying? No.
Absolutely. And so it's just cool because I mean Cameroon can be, it can be a little drier. It can be a little bit woody at times, and you get that really cool kind of back and forth between the sweetness on the San Andreas
Yeah.
and those flavors in the Cameroon, and
But
it's really cool. And I recommend smoking it. I'm sorry.
I think the cinnamon spice of the Cameroon and maybe that zest of jalapeno and black pepper spice you're getting from that wrapper, they might mix well. You know what I'm saying? No.
Oh, they really do. They really do. I think it's a cool one to smoke, and I recommend smoke it, and then if you haven't had one in a while, go back to the Partagas Yellow. The original.
The number four is the best one. The Corona number four. Have you had that one? And
I love that.
I couldn't believe how it changed that cigar. Like, you know what I'm saying, though? Like, if you want to give that cigar justice, the Partagas number four, the regular one in Cameroon, that small size with that Cameroon wrapper, it's really zesty. It really took the cake, man.
Yeah, that's
What's
a great cigar.
what's
But
the
yeah,
price?
the price point. It's not a crazy pricey cigar. I want to say it's around the $10 mark
Very
for a Toro. I mean, don't quote me on that because I'm not in the trenches in the day to day with that brand. But
okay.
um,
So or minus $3, give or take, whatever. I mean, obviously probably more plus, but that's still really, even at $12, $13 at most lounges in New York or California, that's very reasonable.
Oh yeah, you're not breaking the bank at all, and you get some really cool tobaccos in that.
I think about it. That's a part. There's been one part is the Cigars are pretty common. You know, the decade cigar. You had one with the Brazilian Cameroon. That was the last one. And before that one, I forget the wrapper on that one. It came in little glass tubes. It was a long, skinny cigar, like a Lonsdale. The Partagas Tecadas, man, is it's great. It's up there with like the Legend. I think it's even a little higher tier than the Legend.
Yeah.
More Partagas on the higher side, or more on the value side on the Cortado? What do you think?
Oh man, I mean they're all good. You cut out for a second. Is the question? Do I like them on the value side or on the?
We're going to see more new Partagas blends coming in on the value side. These are great, but it's a value cigar. It's a great cigar, but it's around a $6, $7 cigar that feels more like a $10 cigar. Or we're going to see more Legends or Tecadas. You know what I'm saying, on the luxury side. So I mean, Partagas has a wide range. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, they do, and I think we're going to continue to see the brand kind of in that wide range. You know what I mean? If Partagas is one too, where if we look through the inventory of tobaccos, that's beautiful burn. If you look through the inventory and tobaccos and find, we've got this really cool vintage Cameroon, or we've got this, like that might be the next Partagas. I mean that is a brand that often kind of follows the tobacco, and so you very well might be sometimes we're like, oh wow, this is cool. This we didn't have this in the plan for forever, but we found this tobacco, and this is a good cigar, so we're gonna put it out. So I think there will continue to be limited editions and kind of that higher end stuff, but at the same time, yeah, I think Partagas is a brand that a lot of people know that without breaking the bank, they can get a really solid cigar that takes the tobacco really seriously. So I think the full times are probably going to kind of stay in that yellow label, black label kind of wheelhouse, maybe plus or minus
Right.
a couple bucks. But I think they're going to kind of continue to keep it wide. I think that's one of the strengths of that brand.
Yeah, I think Partagas with their heritage and with the blend you guys have in there, and you don't screw up the consistency. You can go back to the black or the Legend or the classic one, and or even the Forte. They're very consistent, and they don't play with that. But they're still making some new stuff, and I'm gonna try that new green one, and I want to try. There's another one. What's the higher end Partagas? Anthony P smoked it like last month. It was a much higher end with like a brown band or something like that. It was like $20, and I haven't.
Oh, the Partagas de Bronce, the one they make
Yeah,
at El Teton de Bronce.
yeah, I heard really good things. No,
That's a great stick. Maybe I'd have to see if we have any in the office. Maybe one or two might arrive.
but is that going to be limited edition, or you're actually going to be selling that like regular?
That's going to be a limited edition. Do you know about that rolling gallery? I mean, it's really pretty small. So like, I think anything we do out of Miami is going to have to be.
Oh, that's the Series M factory. So that new party is this. It's like a brother or sister to the Series M.
That's the same factory, different blend to kind of reflect Partagas and what they're about. I
Yeah,
don't know the blend off the top of my head
hey,
on that
that's
one, but
okay. Dude, nobody knows the entire General, including Forge and past, present, and future. It's insane, but I'm just glad you're willing to uh, take the chance and talk about things. And if you don't know, you don't know, man. You can't know everything.
yeah.
Um, okay, how has sales grown since you've been there with Forge, and do you and if and what areas has it grown? So how has sales grown since you've been there? What have you seen grow?
I've seen, so in general, when I started, we started to kind of see that the tail end of the COVID-19 kind of boom, right? That was subsiding. So like for a while there, everything was just selling like hotcakes. There was no, we had a hard time keeping stuff in stock. Now some of that's dying off. People are kind of getting back to normal, thank God. But
Because back then, a lot of people were just sitting home, nothing to do, and so they smoke more at home.
mhm, absolutely right. But I think a lot of people took up cigar smoking and have stuck with it. Maybe they're not buying as many, but it didn't go boom and bust. It's gone boom, and it's been, still growth, but not like crazy, crazy, crazy. And that's industry wide. That's not. I'm not telling you anything I'm not allowed to say. Like that's that's the whole industry.
Mhm.
But our brands that have done really well, nice kiwi. I bet that pairs nicely with the cortado too.
Fantastic. What's nice about a nice medium cigar like this, it doesn't overpower the fruit. Like I wouldn't want to be doing Cohiba Black right now with this, or like a Padron 64. It's too much. These kind of cigars back up the moment. It's kind of like a backup singer. Whenever you play, he's like the hype man. Whatever you say, he's like, yeah, Kiwi. Like like he's on the stage. But other cigars are like Led Zeppelin lead singer. He's like, shut up. I'm the leader of the band, and that's fine too. It depends on what you want to do. You know what I'm saying though? Like
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean, there's basically two cigars, no matter what the blend. Cigars that are the moment, and cigars that got your back in the moment. I can't stress it enough. No matter how you want to slice it, do you want to get out of here, or do you want someone just to give you a hug?
right. Yeah, no, there really are.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to cigars, right now, if you were in charge of General Cigars, would you rather have 10 of your brands grow 10%, or one of your brands grow 100%, and why?
I think we wanna see that growth kind of a cross the board, because the brands aren't all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to do a different thing and trying to do it well. And if it meant one brand did really well, that'd be great. But it would also mean that most of our brands were failing, and that's not good. And that 100.
Situation because having it's almost like a Batman movie and then like a DC Universe movie. You have to deal with so many characters. If you only show one character, even everyone's favorite Batman, your other characters are going to get hurt. So if you invest all your cigars into Partagas or Cohiba, CAO and Macanudo and well, we could throw in Rico Albano, but he's like the X factor. They're like, hey, what about us? And you're like, we don't have time for you. And then people forget. You know what I'm saying? No, so I get that. You'd rather constantly, instead of having one brand have 10 new cigars, give 10 brands one new cigar a year. I think that's a better concept, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean it's if it was one cigar just did crazy well, that might not be sustainable. That might be a bubble. That might not
What
be.
happens? Do you have a meeting? Like, let's say a general catches cigar of the year, or just stuff is so hype. Do you have to sit down and go, how can we calculate and be ready for this? Because if it's going to go nuts, um, you know what I'm saying? No, do you plan on like how do you keep up with that production? Like how deep are your cigars? Like so, if you any of your cigars, are you 6 months, 1 year, 2 years deep in tobacco? Like as far as or like is everything like it's not from crop to crop? Like you've got some sustainability, or does that change depending on if it's a regular release or um, limited edition?
Yeah. Um, with tobacco, we're usually pretty good. I mean, we've got really solid kind of stores, warehouses. We sell other people tobacco sometimes. I mean, it's a really we in that regard we're very deep. Sometimes though in inventory, I mean, if we have something really take off and sell, and obviously we try to keep it we try to keep it you know all kind of accounted for. We try to, and our demand planning team does a fantastic job of that. But we always say they have the hardest job in the world. You know what I mean? I do not envy those guys because it's the kind of job whenever it goes wrong, that's when you notice them. You know what I mean? If they do their job right, you don't even know they're there. And so it's
Right.
tough. They do a good job though. I mean, I would say most of our big cigars, if production was disrupted for some reason, we most of the big ones we've got a couple months in back inventory. We try to err on the safe side.
Yeah, that's smart. We asked you if you're into Opus X, and we talked about this last time. You do like Opus X, correct?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean even if that's not really your profile, which and it is mine. They're very good, but
Everyone respects that brand. If you don't respect this, I'm not going to go into other channels. There's one guy that hates that brand. He thinks it's a gimmick, and that to me is just like blind hatred. Because, for example, if you sell Chevys with that, that high end Bosch like G whatever high end Mustang with like 800 horsepower or something, you're like, man, you gotta have to have a little respect. You know what I'm saying? Though for your competition. And now the gouging aside, that's a separate thing on happens on some cigars, and especially with the secondary hype, and it's got But as far as just a blend, I mean, Fuente he's done a lot for and he's a lover of cigars and tobacco. He's a kind man, so I can't say nothing bad about Carlito, and I have nothing but respect. You know what I'm saying? Though, like to disrespect that man, it'd be like disrespect. You know what I'm saying? Though, like if that guy came to hang out with generals, like, hey, you want to make a cigar together? You guys would probably work with him, right? If he's like, hey, you want to work together, or you want to
oh
hang
yeah,
out? Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
tons of respect, and nothing but respect. And I know I'm not the only person on the team that feels that way. I mean, we all they said for a long time that a Dominican Puro was not possible,
yeah.
and you proved them wrong. And it was a great cigar. So I mean, yeah, nothing but respect
And
for.
that's a guy that could not be humble, and he deserves that, but he's still humble, and that's it. That's a guy that it didn't go to his head. You know what I'm saying? Though he's such a regular guy. So I mean, shout out to him, and I think that's something we can all learn, no matter where we're at. If you remain humble, then you can see the next level. If you're not, you think you're always at the top. You know what I'm saying, though? And then all
Yeah,
you can do is down. So I think humility is an important factor we could all add to our life.
absolutely agree.
Goes a long way. What are you scared at work? What's your biggest fear at your job?
Oh man, what am I scared of
No, at work.
at work? Um, saying something I shouldn't about cigar on a YouTube live.
Okay, all right, and I respect that. You
No,
know,
I'm joking. I mean, I'm scared that I will. We try really hard not to just sort of talk to ourselves. We try to get out and talk to guys that run shops and cigar smokers. We talk to our sales force. that's that's funny. That's all I can say about that. We try to get out. But one of the things I'm afraid of is that and again, I don't think we do this, but it's always our fear. That is amazing. Is groupthink, talking to ourselves, convincing ourselves that the whole world wants a $35 Connecticut shade with the Costa Rican binder, something weird that there's really no demand for it. And I'm not saying that hypothetical cigar wouldn't be cool, but it's not what people are really after. You know what I mean? So
brand. For example, so like if you're talking about somebody with like Atabey, which is going after a high luxury category of cigars with insane boxing, like Atabey's boxing is even better than Davidoff. It's great cigars, but every cigar is like Spectre. Everything's like perfect, and the bands are perfect, and the boxes are crazy. But you're gonna pay for and they have 5 years of aging with selective humidity. Like they raise it and lower it from five. Like, is that necessary? No. But if you want a guy playing accordion to that tobacco for 5 years, it will change it. That harmonic vibration would do something. I mean, but I think when it comes to general, you have different categories, but also like I think most of the brands a little more in the realistic category for like working people. You know what I'm saying? You're going more after anything from that $5 to $20 cigar, which $20 gets expensive, but you get what I'm saying? No, you're very rarely you playing with $50 to $100 cigars.
right, and really, what I mean by that is like, we all try really hard to make sure that we're not you know, not listening to cigar smokers. We want to put out cigars that people want, and we want to make sure that we're not kind of getting down our own rabbit holes and forgetting what cigar smokers like.
Right.
Now, we're also all cigar smokers, right? So that helps. But
Right.
yeah, you want to.
If you want to listen to like a certain group, they might be very selective. So it's like you want to hear people that like your stuff and also don't like your stuff, but also have a broader range. Because if you only go to one group, oh, I hate all your stuff, and you're like, okay, and that's some truth right there if they don't like it. But then you got to zoom out a little bit, and you know what I'm saying. If you only ask 10 people versus 100, you know what I'm saying. No, you don't want to get down on yourself. If there's going to be people no matter what that hate every brand, you know, for whatever reason, and those people, like when I had um, the gentleman Jose Juan Lopez of Gurkha, who has increased the quality of Gurkha greatly from where it was. He's like, listen, no matter what, there's going to be people that we can never get back. And I respect that because of our past and with some of the things that happen. I won't go into it with the internet only stuff. But he says what he's doing right now in the brick and mortar stuff, and he's working with PDR, he's working with Oliva, he's working with Aganorsa. So he goes, if you don't like my brand, but maybe you like Aganorsa, maybe you'll like my brand. But if you don't, God bless. Go to the next booth. At a certain point, you got to say, it's like if you ask a girl out, she says no, you got to go. If you ask her 3 or 4 times, that's harassment. You know what I'm saying? No.
Right. Yeah. No, that's totally true.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. A nice, easy question. Does the cigar business have a long-term stability as far as employment?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I mean, it you know, like anything, any job, you know, it's you know, it's always possible, right? That there might be something that happens, but I wouldn't say it's, you know, cutthroat or there's a lot of burnout. I mean, you know, because it's something people, if you get in it, you tend to like it. You know, I didn't get in this because I don't like this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it
There's passion behind it, which is different. You don't go to work and be like, you know what I'm saying? Oh no, a new Cohiba. Oh, like you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're excited. You
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah, no one's bored. No one's like doing this to get through to the weekend. I mean, we're all really passionate about it, really excited about it. So no, I mean there are some guys who've been with the company for quite a while, and you know, Ed Lehman, I will shout out. He's a veteran. He's been there for forever.
He's a
Helped,
gentleman. He talked to me for hours on the phone, and who am I? I'm a regular guy, right? But he liked my reviews on his punches when he was working with those and the Fu Manchu and the Chinese Zodiac stuff. And I reviewed them. I remember the first one I reviewed. He said, "You explain exactly why I made this cigar," and that was years ago. And I really, it felt like it was a good stamp on my approval of my reviews are not just horseshit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
No, it wasn't like a vanity thing too, because I'm trusting I'm a very humble guy. Like I keep it real, man. You know. But
absolutely.
okay, so somebody asked the purple. How has those sales done? Are you happy, disappointed? Are they doing well? Do you also feel like is those going to be in a 5-pack? You ever going to do a 5-pack with all the colors? How is the purple? I know it's the Riviera. We like to call it the purple.
Right.
How is that doing?
You know, I can't speak to the five. I don't know, you know, about a 5-pack or anything, but the Cohiba Riviera has people really are liking it. I mean, look at that. Oh, there it goes.
They caught it straight up. Look at that.
that's
You
that's great.
dude, I got a hole in one. That's the first time that ever happened. Hole in one. And
See
this
that?
is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's Partagas Cortados is yeah, it's good luck charm.
I'm sorry. What we say about the purple?
Yeah, people are loving it. It's been really well received. It's doing really well. Yeah,
Uh, the best selling Cohiba, I'll tell you, is the red dot. 70% of the factory for Cohiba makes red dot. So nothing else sells more. Nothing else will ever sell anymore. I don't think so because that's your first one, right? The red dot, and that's the most. That hits everything, even though it doesn't hit on the super strong side, but it's still a semi-potent cigar, and it's just such an enjoyable cigar from newbies until I enjoyed it when I was brand new, and I still enjoy it even more now. So the red dot, I know it's 70%. Last time I read, um, yeah. So the red dot is the biggest by volume, correct?
I don't know actually. I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I'm not on Cohiba,
And that
but
work for Cohiba, but you can talk to Ed about that, and I'm almost positive it's around 70%. The thing about that is, though, picture how much Cameroon tobacco you need to sustain 70% of your company with Cameroon wrappers. That's a lot of Cameroon.
yeah, no, it is a lot. Um, Yeah, no, it's that's a a classic. That's one that people love. It's been out for quite a long time. So yeah,
Over
it's a hit.
overseas sales. Have you seen overseas sales do well with different brands? And for example, some brands I know they have to change, like Silencio for in the Cuban market over in Europe. But even like Macanudo, example, Sancho Panza, you couldn't sell that I think overseas due to the regular names. But do you sell cigars in Europe and overseas? I think you do, right?
Yeah, the through the parent company. I don't know a ton about that. I'll be honest. I mean, I we don't really.
Is that separate? I saw the red dot being sold as Silencio in France, and they were selling it for like $14 in euro, which I thought was a reasonable price. And it was getting very good reviews from the French people. I actually saw his review in French. I'm that weird guy that I look up a lot of stuff, so don't ask me how I know that, but it's true. And I kind of respect that. That okay, so they got to change the name, but it's still people loving the cigar. You know what I'm saying, though? And I hope one day we all can get along. I know you can't touch certain topics, and I'm not asking for that, but it's so basically, the main market for is America, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we all of us in my office, we're kind of focused on that. I mean, it's cool to get to kind of meet the international guys and
Oh,
talk about what they're doing, but
you have an international. It's like Macanudo, you can sell everywhere. There's international people for overseas for that. I didn't know that.
yeah, it's kind of managed by our parent company over there. So, but yeah, I mean, still a really good brand. We don't. Yeah, we're kind of focused for the most part on US though, so I don't really know a whole lot about that.
That's okay. And I don't want you to touch on stuff you don't feel comfortable with. And I'm going to give you right now. You have this little thing you can say pass. If you don't want to answer, just tell me pass, and I'll move on. Um, okay. What is your job's greatest threat? Of course, we can say regulation, and we can't talk about that. But what do you feel your job's greatest? How about people just stopping tobacco? Happens. But what if people stop smoking tobacco? Would you guys get into like comic books or making movies? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I can't imagine people will ever smoke or stop smoking tobacco. I mean, it's something that people have been doing for hundreds of years. As you know, it brings people together. It gives people something to kind of bond over and talk about and experience together. I mean, hundreds of years of tradition. So maybe you'll see the numbers of people. I don't know. I don't know a crystal ball or anything, but I'm I'm confident that this is a tradition that's going to carry on. People are going to do this for a long time. So
Question coming in. Um, He wants to know what quality soaps to use because here at this channel we advocate all of our watchers take two showers a day and we drink filtered water and we use high quality soaps because most cheap soaps have so much chemicals it's going to give you cancer. So do you use like Dr. Squatch or is there what I'm saying no? I like I had this one soap called it's called the San Francisco Soap Company. But it's not made in San Francisco, but they have really high end like pressed soaps. They cost $12, but we're really into high end soaps. Are you into that or no?
I feel like I ought to be. I didn't even know about this world of high end soaps.
This is what I'm excited for. You're open to it and get ready to change your life. So try some Dr. Squat. Go to the store. Don't go to the regular section. And nothing. I'm not gonna say brands, but the cheap stuff you get like 12 bars for like $3. There's the same ingredients in your dishwasher soap or your clothes soap. I'm telling you. So just as we smoke, picture those as short filler soap. You know what I'm saying? So if you want premium soap, go buy some premium soap. Invest in a $10 bar soap from a good brand, and you're gonna. It's phenomenal. Like it's there's no. Um, I remember it was like years ago. I went to a soap store and I'm like, why do people use this quality soap like this? It's like, just try it out. And they gave me a free bar. And I came back a week later. I bought like a bar from Australia, a bar from Italy, a bar from France, and and you can't believe the kind of soaps they have. They have soaps that smell like the beach, like you're at the beach. And I'm like, oh my god, like it's like it's just it changes everything. Just as we care about cigars, I think it's important to take care of yourself. I tell guys here to eat prunes every day, and I'm not, it's if you don't start thinking about your health, you're gonna have less time to smoke cigars.
Right. No, that's a good way to put it. I mean, yeah, that stuff is important. It's something as I've gotten a little older and I've kind of started to appreciate. Um,
You don't want to rub chemicals all over your body. I'm telling you. Like, so look into some high quality soaps. You'll never go back. Because think about your skin's your largest organ. If every day you use real ingredients, to wash as opposed to chemicals, you're gonna have better health. Period. I just can't stress it enough. You know what I'm saying, though? So something to look forward to. Now, do you consider post aging, not in the aging room, after the aging room, but when it's in the box? Um, is that on purpose? Is that because of delays for transportation or regulation? And do you guys count that or plan on that? For example, I remember years ago there was a Monte Cristo, and they whether they chose to hold them back, they were in the box after aging 11 years, and they called it the 11, and they had 11 years in the box just sitting around. Great cigar, but obviously mellowed it out. So do you guys factor that in for any cigar, or is it just like you make them, you do an aging room, and you're like, get this shit out of here and sell it? So, or is that depending on the blend? You might say we're going to leave this in the box for a year, 2 years on purpose, or is it just because we can only move as fast as the market as people have room?
Yeah, no, we've definitely done it. Best of my knowledge, it's been intentional, right? So there'll be a blend when we kind of go, wow, this is really good, but it's a little hot. Could stand to use a year. Maybe we smoke the cigars, the blend is good, but the combustion on something is not where it needs to be, and we think that'll benefit from a year of age. So there are all these factors where and often we do plan on it. Often it is what we kind of set out to do when we launch product, but sometimes it's our response to something that's come up, right? It's not like we just lose them. We don't just misplace a couple thousand boxes.
Why too? Like that happened with Cubans. It's called the Anejo back in the day, where they were hoping the American regulations under Obama was going to change, and they were actually hoping they were going to sell American cigars legally to the American market at stores. Well, they had these cigars set aside for the American market. Guess what? The regulations didn't change. They opened them up a little bit so you could bring them back. But what happened was they had this whole lineup called the Anejo, where they got 5 years age after rolling, which is not the norm for Cuban cigars. So they were called the Anejo. So I know you have the Partagas Anejo and the CAO Anejo. So do you know how much time are on those? Or that's just extra age, but unspecified?
Gosh, I part the I believe, I don't know. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing.
Don't answer me or no. Dude, I know I'm just a guy, an asshole sitting here on a porch.
No.
I don't know if you notice, I smoke a lot of cigars and I think a lot about tobacco. I'm asking you a lot of hard questions. You're doing well.
No, but I know with the Partagas that tobacco is aged. I don't know if the stick gets any age or not. It might. I don't know. The Polona Anejo, the CAO, that does get some age. I can't remember if it's a year or 2 years, but and I want to say maybe the initial limited edition was 2 years, and then it's coming back as full time with a year of age on it. But yeah, I mean those the Polona Anejo for sure gets some age on it after it's rolled.
Yeah. You know what's one of the greatest CEOs is that limited edition one you do every Christmas in that white box that lights up. What the hell is the name of that one?
Oh, Vision.
Dude, what a great cigar, man. What that cigar could just represent the whole brand. Like if anyone is CEO, try a Vision. What a fun cigar, man, right?
Yeah, that's a really good stick. The blend is great. The packaging is cool. It's elaborate, but
But it's not
it's not gimmicky.
that's not gift. That's like just elaborate. Like that's like really, really giving you a gift. I mean, you're gonna pay for it, but you're gonna keep that forever. That's a cool. You could put a pistol in that box. It's a cool box, man. You can do whatever you want.
Oh yeah, it's no, it is. I mean, yeah, it's really special. That's when I first started, and I was kind of looking in the humidor and kind of looking at all of our packaging next to each other. Like that's when you really linger on. Like that holds your eyes. That quilted leather on the top of the box, the lights. I mean, that's kind of a thing to behold. So that's a really good. That's a
What's
really
worse market fluctuation? Obviously, you would say it's worse to have less, as far as less demand than more demand. But more demand, less demand though means Well, more demand means trouble because if you don't match it, people will be pissed right now. But if you match it with subpar stuff, like you rush the production or change the blend, I've seen it happen with smaller brands where they changed. There was a cigar back in the day, 2011, we all loved, and the next year it was so popular, everyone's like, "What the hell is this? It's not the same cigar." And the year after that, no one would smoke it anymore. So you guys, were you guys? I know with LFD, Andalusian Bull, they don't rush it. Whatever they make, and they could make more, but you would have to change the blend or the quality. So if you have so much demand but you can't meet it, would you guys have a meeting like, well, look, what are we gonna do? We want to cash in on this. We want to keep our reputation. Like
Yeah, I mean, definitely the reputation. I don't nothing's getting rushed out. You know what I mean? It's as a being a company on the scale that we are, there certainly are certain levers we can pull, and we're in a good position to meet market fluctuations. But the cigars are at the core of what we do, so that's never going to change.
when
Yeah,
do
I
you
mean,
kill a cigar? If
I'm sorry.
something's not making demand and it's been time, when do you say we got to murder this cigar? Not a whole brand, but some brands have gone in the past, and a lot of companies in general, but not saying general cigars, but just in general when it comes to tobacco, some brands have disappeared. When it comes to you guys, when do you say we have to revamp it, or when do you say we got to just let this go for a while, or not a whole brand, or maybe just a blend? You know,
Yeah, it's a tough question. I wish there was kind of a standard, like an easy way to answer that, right? I mean, it varies based on the brand. I mean, some if a blend's been out for a long time, and maybe it doesn't do what it used to, but it's still got this reputation and it still kind of resonates. That might be around longer than something that just launched and kind of fizzled. You know what I mean? But there's
what
it's
about the supply side? If you got a heads up, for example, God forbid, there's a massive war or famine or disease in the country of Cameroon, and you don't have any more Cameroon tobacco. Do you make a statement, tell people, guys, there's not going to be any more red dot. There's not going to be more classic particles. Eventually, are you going to use Brazilian or Honduran Cameroon or Nicaraguan Cameroon and change the blend? Or are you going to say, we're not going to make this no more? What would you do? What could you do?
I mean, that's a horrible thing to have to consider, right? But
I'm
yeah,
trying to guys for worst case scenario.
yeah, that's someone's got to, right? So yeah, I don't know. That hadn't happened in my tenure in my year at the company. So that's really hard to say. But
I guess you'd call that risk management. You know what I'm saying, though?
yeah,
Because the more country you use, you could flex all around, but at the same time, if one revolution happens or instability, which or a factory goes under fire or you lose your. Have you guys ever lost the yield? Like the Fuentes have had a fire in their aging barns. Have you ever guys lost a whole crop? You know what I'm saying? No, has that ever happened to you guys? Or do you have a
I,
lot? You have a lot of security at your stuff.
yeah. I mean, we definitely take good. Not that anyone else doesn't take good care of their stuff, but um we run a pretty tight ship there. Yeah, I'm sure at some point in the company's history, that sort of thing has happened, but not again. I've only been there for a year, so maybe Ed Lehman might know. Shout out to him, but yeah, I not in recent memory that I'm aware of. But it's always a risk, when you operate this kind of an operation. So
Question
um,
top of my head. Where the hell do you get your cellophane? Is it true cellophane made of um, what's the word? They use some type of is it vegetable? What do they use for cellophane? Because it's semi-permeable. Generally, it's 70% blockage, so it allows in 30%. So that way, whatever's in the cigar is trying to maintain 70%. Um, or do obviously you can't answer, but because I know some companies have tried to gotten cheap and use plastic. So how does it work with cellophane? Who makes it? Do you make your own? Do you outsource it? And what would happen if you guys ran out of cellophane? Do you sell them like Padron, no cellophane? Do you remarket them like Cubans, like no cellophane, because then you run the risk of damage? Especially you're in a lot of shops. The cellophane is important because people touch everything and they break everything, and then once a cigar is broken, the shop can't sell it.
yeah, candidly, I couldn't tell you who makes it or anything like that, but Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm over my head on that one. To be honest, I mean, uh, yeah, the
But what I'm trying to prove is it's not so simple when it comes to cigars. Enjoying a cigar is simple, but so many factors, man. There's
oh
so
yeah, you make that point very well because and you're right. I mean, there's all these things we have to consider, right? We got to consider cellophane, the bands, the materials for the boxes. I mean, all of this stuff. It's
gluing. That's a major problem. I've had that happen on high end cigars where you go to take off a band, and especially on lighter wrappers, and that glue just unravels that band. How do you really make sure your people are not over gluing? You know what I'm saying? No, how does that work as far as quality control?
man, I don't know. When I was in the factory, um, it's just yeah, it's done by hand. So it's not like there's a machine with a really tight tolerance or something like that. But what I can say is everyone I saw that was doing it, they had it down to a science. They're really good at it. And so, I mean, I think if that was a complaint we got, if that was an issue we had, I'm sure at the factory level we could kind of address that and say, hey, you guys are using a little too much glue or something. But um, that's one, right? Because we're talking about how long the supply chains are and that sort of thing. So a lot about the business is very complex, but at the same time, some of it is golden era. There you go. Some
What
of
a
it's
reusable cigar. What a reusable cigar. You know what
oh
I'm saying?
that
I never get bored of this cigar.
no, that's been one of the favorites on the team as well. I mean, that's one we're all kind of going for. They
What's your favorite size?
standard size. The Robusto is pretty popular.
Yeah.
What do you have there? Robusto, Toro.
Yeah. Gio, who sent it, I think he preferred the larger one. He said he felt the Robustos were bitter to him, but I explained to him the change of size changed the blend, especially the gauge. The Toro was bigger, and so when you go with that smaller gauge, it tweaks. I reviewed all of them. When you go with this with the smaller from a larger gauge to smaller, it's going to intensify. And so if in your mind you expected it to taste like the Toro, and that's you're only happy with that one, when you go to Robusto, it might be a little more intense, and you're like, wow, this feels harsh. But that's not the case. It's from Robusto and Toro at 50 to 52 or 54 really could change the blend. Some cigars more or less, right? But some cigars you feel it more. I prefer the intensity on the Robusto, but for him, he liked the less that little less intensity. I feel you get more of the sweetness. Even though I still get sweetness on the cigar, but that's what I'm saying. Though you got to also know what hits you right. So that's why I tell people try a cigar, go up one and go down one, and then kind of like when you're sighting at a scope. If it's dead on, fine. But then if one cigar hits you perfectly, then don't change the size because unless you're going to want to change the blend, um, it's gonna feel different. There's no way a 50 gauge is going to feel like a 52. It's going to change it. You know what I'm saying though, and that's part of life. So if you expect a little difference, it's exciting. But if you don't, if you want that consistency, and you love a cigar, I recommend people not to change the size because it's gonna be different. That doesn't make it bad or worse. But you get what I'm saying though? Do you ever try cigars in different sizes? I like to do that a lot. I know the only channels did that. Most cigar channels they review a cigar one time. I reviewed everyone's cigars in multiple sizes on purpose.
Yeah, no, it's important. You're totally right. I mean, they all smoke differently. One of my favorites to kind of smoke through is flathead. That 642 Lonsdale.
I have
Um, you
I
know,
got I've only had the bigger ones, and like Toro or Gordo, and they were great. But if I ever see that, how much better was it in that size?
better is tough to say, but it's different. Like you're saying, it smokes a little different. And it's cool to get that change. It's really neat to kind of get you know one kind of right after the other. But yeah, and then in the 642, that broadleaf really sings. It's a really really nice cigar. It sings in all of them. There's no bad size of the flathead, but
That's a
you,
cigar popular in a lot of sizes, and especially the big sizes. But I've had the bigger sizes, and it wasn't a loser. Like even when you went to the bigger size on that, it was still a fun. So I find that cigar to be fun. It's like a fun. The flathead. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't remind me like a real crazy serious cigar. Like it's a really cool blend. I really like that was a Rodriguez blend, right?
Not sure.
Because that was CEO. I think that was when you had Rodriguez there. That was a great blend. The flathead. I know when that came out, and you had different versions, right? You had the spark plug and everything else, and then the V19, the V21. They're popular, man. Like that. That's one of CEO's biggest blends, right? The flathead. I mean, that's a massive brand, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know what one that Ed said is one of their top tens, but I didn't know this because I don't see it at stores anymore. It's almost like let's say hype countdown, but like just people move on to people want what the newer stuff is. The CAO MX2 is such a great cigar, and because it's been out for so long, the lounges always want the new stuff, and people want the new stuff. And the MX2, did you ever have that? What a great cigar!
Oh yeah. Yeah. I do see that in shops. You know, it's. I mean, and you're right. The industry's gotten very kind of ADHD. That's something Ed's always saying. You know, people are always kind of after the new thing, but that is one that I do see around. I know a lot of people that like it, and smoke it. I enjoy it too. I mean, when it came out at
A
the time,
lot of that because I don't see it in lounges too much. But if it's that big of a seller, there's some cigars that just sell better online, you know, and that's something you're not going to know till you make it or as time goes on. Do you feel like as time goes on, cigars switch from being more popular in lounges than versus in the internet? Like as far as buying a whole box, you know, and or do you guys expect that? Because lounges only can carry so many cigars, and you guys have plenty of staples. These big brands have a lot of staples, but at the same time, when you want new stuff to come out, that happened with the purple. That guy said, I had to put the Royale. I can't sell no more. I said, why? He goes, because I had no more room. And I had to make a decision. And he goes, I have so many boxes for Cohiba, I'll put on my shelf. So he went from the Royale to purple because he goes, I just want to put the new one out. So, sometimes when you have a lot of new stuff, I don't know, everything affects everything, like a ripple effect. You know what I'm saying, though?
yeah, absolutely. It is tough. I mean, there are a lot of good cigars on the market. We understand that for sure. So it's yeah, it's tough. We all wish there was infinite shelf space, and but that is the reality of it. But
What about
hopefully
Glorious? In the future, are we ever going to see high end the Glorias? Because a lot of the price points are very affordable. Do you think we'll see down the line of them getting into that, upper mid tier category? Because do you still make the Series N and Series R? I don't see that in lounges too much anymore. They used to be really popular back in the day.
we still make the Series R, and that does very well for us. We've got the Eighth Street out, that's another that's made at El Titan de Bronce, where Partagas de Bronce, Cohiba Series M are made. Um, that's a great cigar, and that kind of plays in that. It's a little bit higher end than some of the other La Glorias. Um, so yeah, we're already doing it. That's a good opportunity to kind of shout that out. But yeah,
Oh,
that's a fantastic cigar.
he said that he's had some La Glorias of lately, the regular La Gloria blend, and he could have swore he felt it was sweet tipped. Are you guys ever sweet tipping regular cigars, or that's only for no?
No,
Interesting. Yeah. So that's a no, Jeremy. But solid question though. Who knows? Maybe the guy at the lounge you buy it from, maybe he's eating candy and he handles the cigar, and you never know. Um, do all your brands get a construction, aging, etc., or across the board, each one's a different case? Like, let's go from Punch to Partagas or Partagas to Cohiba. Do they all get the same construction? Like, are they all made? Like, for example, do you tell your people make 250 today, and on ones that are less expensive, we're gonna run. You have to make 400 today. Like this, does the price category and tier category affect how many are made per day? You know what I'm saying? Though, like,
I'll be honest. I have no idea. um, I mean, I imagine not. I mean, it's now we've definitely have done projects in the past where it's only a handful of our best rollers, and so that obviously limits production somewhat. But I don't know beyond that.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, you're not. You're gonna go to sleep tonight. Like, thank God this interview is over. Like, ringer. But I told you tonight I'm going to have more serious questions, but I got to write it down. But all right, cigars choose what liquor brands to work with because you had the Weller, and you had the other one, the Macanudo with the wine company. So how does that work? Because it's not General doesn't own liquor companies. How do you get approached, or how do you approach, or even the Boston Grail with the whiskey? How do you approach that situation? Because there's an infinite amount of liquor companies. How do you decide on working with something like that? Or is that a boardroom meeting? Or you say, I like this. Let's give them a call. See if they'll work with us.
A lot of those come from relationships. Just so they arise out of relationships that somebody at our company has with somebody at another company. And so that's a lot of it. But we it has to make sense for the brand. On our end, it has to be a partner where they really do kind of play well together. Diesel and Rabbit Hole, great example of that. I mean, Rabbit Hole, this really cool, innovative distillery, not your grandfather's bourbon by any means. Um, Partnering with Diesel, this brand that really disrupts and does stuff differently. I mean, that's a perfect pairing. Likewise, Flint Knoll and Macanudo. Um, Two very elegant brands. Flint Knoll is younger and more boutique. Macanudo is established, but they kind of learn from each other in that regard, and so that's a really good opportunity for collaboration there. And then I mean Weller and Cohiba. I mean both really refined, really really cool kind of artisanal products. But
Market accepted that very well, literally well. That I've seen those at a lot of lounges and selling. I find it interesting when they age stuff like that, they strictly age it in the back, or I guess if they did rub the liquor on the tobacco, that would be considered infused. You guys don't do that, correct?
No. We don't do that. Yeah, it's barrel aging. It's very subtle. You don't smoke it and go, oh, there's whiskey. But
Yeah.
there's a richness. Certainly, it there's no certainly is not flavoring the cigar, right? It's nothing like that at all. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So barrel aging, do you feel it's something that okay, we know it enhances a cigar. Some people better or worse on their taste. But do you feel like that's something that your company wants to get more into? Are we going to see more barrel aging on the forward side? Or is it something that's only limited where, hey, we want barrel aging on all of our cigars now? It's a very expensive process.
No, I mean, I don't think it'll never be something we do all the time or anything like that. But it's a process that we've got in our arsenal. It's something that we can do. And if it's right for the project, we'll do it. But it's there's a lot of trial and error, and so we know how to do it now. We're pretty good at that. So um, yeah, it's exciting that we're able to do it. But
Would you say tobacco was, you have to ferment the tobacco first and then put the barrel, or do you put the barrel and then ferment it? I think it's the last, right?
yeah, my understanding is that it's already fermented and then aged.
Right. Now that would be different than barrel aging a cigar, right? And you guys don't do that, where like you make the whole cigar, then barrel age the whole cigar. That'd be different, and I think more difficult, right? Because it'd be very delicate at that point. Because when you have a wet tobacco, you can just throw the leaves in a barrel, but putting cigars in a barrel would really be difficult, and you don't want to damage the cigars, correct?
Yeah. To the best of my knowledge, it's not something we've done. I mean, that's even aging, individual leaves. That's going to have an effect on combustion. That's there's going to be some stuff there that you have to take into account. So an entire cigar is a great deal more complicated.
Yeah. And the last question I wrote down, be a silly question. Favorite cigars you make? We talk about that. I know CAO has a whole bunch of their flavors. None of the guys here are smoking that, but I know it's a huge part of the business because those are smaller cigars. They're made in volume. They're made in tins. And have you ever seen the infusion process with the flavors? And how does that work? Like with the ingredients? Like you know what I'm saying? Though, because I know you guys make a lot of that stuff too. As far as that's part of the because there are markets where people want an infused cigar. So have you ever seen that side, or do you guys sell that side on Forge or no?
That's not something I know anything about. To be again, I'm giving you some disappointing ones tonight, I think, but that
It's
is
pointing because I'd rather you tell me the truth than
yeah.
blow up my ass. So
I mean, I've never worked on that side. I've never had a project, where I've done that. So that one's kind of beyond me.
hmm, interesting. Now I'm all out of questions, so I'm just gonna go off the top of my head. When you go to work every day, what's your daily job like? Like, do you have like week long or month long projects or things? Like, how does that work? Do you have follow ups to what you already released, or getting ready for a new release, or dealing with the press? How do you deal with the press? Like, do they call you or email you for a statement, and you make a statement about a cigar? Because I'll generally see the same statement in multiple different people's whether Cigar International or Cigar Advisor or what's the big one, the top 25 Cigar Aficionado. Like you'll say, like, they'll put a comment from Ed Lamont, for example. So how does that work? Like when you release a cigar, do they come to you for a statement? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, generally we will kind of put out a statement. When we launch one, the brand manager will be quoted, and we'll kind of give the relevant information. Blend, country of origin, some of the characteristics of the cigar. Pricing, that kind of thing. But for if people reach out, we're happy to respond. Obviously, but yeah, I mean, that's to get your original question, the day-to-day kind of how that works. We, when we're doing our new launches or we're supporting existing launches, we're managing projects. We've got a lot going on at a given time. So we might be doing something to support the overall brand. At the same time, we've got a launch in the works. Maybe we've got multiple launches in the works, and one launch is coming out 1 month, and one launch is coming out 6 months later. So the launch that's coming out sooner, maybe you've got the package developing and all that stuff. Now you're kind of working on, the tools you're going to give to the sales team and how you're going to support it. And the launch that's further out, you might be working on the blend and the packaging and that sort of thing. So you can have a day where you're working on, blending and packaging. And then you go into a meeting about the cigar you're launching in a month. And then you go and you get on a call and you talk about something you're going to do to support a cigar that's been out for 5 years. So it's a lot, but it's never boring. It's never boring, and no 2 days are quite the same. Um,
Because you're always looking to the future, but you have to also maintain the past, or else you'll have no future. You need the current cigars you're selling so you can have the capital for the future. You know what I'm saying, though? Because you're an established brand, so you have. Do your reps? Do they give you information to know what's going on? Like for example, they'll say, "Hey, we're really moving a lot of the cigar, but only in Toro." So I think that way you go, "Hey, we need to make more of this size," because I doubt you make all the same three different sizes. Let's go with the big three: Robusto, Toro, and Gordo. If you accurate information and you're making, let's just say, for example, 100 boxes of each a day, but they're like, hey, we're selling 5-1 on Toro and 4-1 on the Gordo, and the Robusto's not selling. Then you bring that back to the factory and say, slow down production on this size, increase production on that. You know what I'm saying? No, like, do you have a live feed on that from the?
yeah, I mean, we definitely, we're always talking to our reps. They're in shops every day. It's part of their job, and so that that feedback from them is very valuable. And we try to listen. I was developing recently a piece of kind of informational marketing that we add to a box, and one of the reps called me and had some feedback and wanted to be a part of that design process. And so he and I got together and, kind of, I took his feedback into account, so uh, I always try to stay really plugged in to, what's going on the street, in the field, in the shops. What are they doing? um, that's something that we always try keep in touch and keep an ear to the ground for that sort of thing because it is important and those guys are smart and it's important that we kind of
There, you're in touch with reality. It's important to know. You know what I'm saying? No, not to say it's
absolutely
because they have to sell what you guys make, but a little tweak or a heads up in a sense, it's good to know. You know what I'm saying? Though,
yeah.
for example, too, not just sizes. If you had cigars like Sancho Panza, where you have the double Maduro and the classic, the natural, and then you have this one other one, the is it the extra forte or something like that. Yeah, if one's doing better than others, then you try to promote the one to incentivize, or for example, I've seen at lounges where they'll have a certain day where they'll knock off $3 off a cigar, but from the company, like a manufacturer, like rebate in a sense. How does that work? Is that an in-house thing, or do you guys ever help promote stuff to stimulate stuff that maybe is not moving, or even if it is moving, just to create more, more stimulus? Who decides on that to say, hey, we're going to run a, or is that in house? The store does that, or you guys set the MSRP, you make the product, and the store can then decide if they want to do something, or have like a general night where all general night cigars are $2 off. That's an in-house decision.
uh yeah, that stuff's always tough. I mean, we we do one thing and it is on incumbent upon the retailer to kind of work with us and follow our instructions. Obviously we offer incentive programs and deals and that sort of thing at various times. But yeah, I mean, if you walk into a store as a consumer, it's really hard to say whether or not something like that came from us or is just the retailers doing it. I mean, that's tough.
Right. Depends because like there's conglomerate stores too, like a Smokers Friendly, where I see them doing that across all the different bigger brands once in a while. Like every week they'll have a special brand, whether it's Altadas or whether it's General. They'll say, "Hey, Monte Cristos today are $2 off," and it's something they do in house, I guess. As a gift to the people, but that's an in house thing. Um, Florida sun grown tobacco and Pennsylvania. I feel those are the biggest American ones where people get some excitement. Are you guys getting involved with that Florida Sun Grown or FSG, any kind of that type of tobacco? Do you have access to it, or is that general not doing that?
I don't know about Florida sun grown. Pennsylvania is something that we've definitely been playing with, and there's a lot of interest there. I mean that had some really cool strength. So yeah, I mean we're always on the lookout for new tobaccos and kind of trying to find ways to bring tobaccos and bring profiles to smokers that maybe they haven't historically had. So yeah, I mean we're always kind of looking at the horizon for what's next, but you know, and obviously I'm not completely at liberty to discuss.
No, fine, yeah, because hey, maybe something for the future. God bless. We don't know.
Yeah.
Now, as far as brands that exist, who decides on saying, you know what, we got to refresh this, and not that they're not selling, but we're deciding for the future. This is our 10-year plan. Cohiba had the same band since I was a kid, on the red dot and the black. A few years ago, well, the first was not even the blue. The first was, I think it was the white label. And they went with the wider band with the two metallic things, which was really cool. And then you guys decided all of them, red dot, blue. What I'm saying though, Miami, the green, they all got the bigger band. As a unification, which made sense because I remember some of them had the bigger and some of them had the classic, and then eventually you guys made a unification. Who decides on to upgrade a brand? Even I see Partyist bands change a few times. Who decides on that, and what's the logic behind deciding that? Is it just refreshing? I know a larger brand it makes more sense because that's advertisement in the eye. It catches the eye more.
Yeah, that generally is the brand team. We'll kind of take a look and make sure. It's tough with these historic brands. We don't want to undermine or in any way kind of fail to acknowledge and leverage the history that a lot of these brands have, but at the same time you don't want your product to look like it's old. You don't want to look out of touch, and so it can be a really difficult tightrope to walk there. But Yeah, I mean that's again it's sort of a case by case thing where maybe we look at some packaging and go like that's a little dated, but quite often that old package, there's even if it does change, a lot of those elements will remain and maybe get an update. But we usually try to keep some continuity there and make sure whatever happens stays true to the brand.
I thought that what you guys redid with Partagas and Cohiba was a good touch. You didn't totally throw out the past, but they were definitely upgraded. The brands became a little more elaborate and of good quality. Um, does that change as these companies that make your bands, as technology gets improved, right? Or maybe even cost gets better because new printing, and who knows, 3D printing, all the new printing techniques. Because some of the bands, like, they're really elaborate and like this depth. They're almost like a little piece of work of art. Um, so it's just interesting how that works with the brands and not just in general, just across the board. You look at different companies' bands, and it is important because, but it's a statement. If this cigar is worse than the band, right, that's a problem. So if you put a really nice brand, like, wow, this looks like a good cigar, and then you light it up, you're like, man, this is like an entry level mid tier cigar. That's another thing too. Like you don't want to upsell a cigar that's not worthy of the band. And then how do you? These are the things that happens with cigars where when you have a really nice band, you better really have a really good cigar, or else people are gonna be like, you get them saying no, like, almost like pearls on a pig. So the more nicer the band is, the better the cigar should be, in my opinion. Like I would save that for the higher end stuff or the better stuff.
Yeah, the other side of that though is that a really good cigar needs a really good band, and so often if we refresh, generally we're kind of bringing the band up to the quality of the cigar, rather than vice versa, right? There's no lipstick on
That's
pig.
all designed to perception. Because what does that even mean? The brand of the cigar, but it does have a factor, though. You know what I'm saying, though? Like the perception, and a lot before people smoke a cigar, or even while they're smoking it, the perception of the box and the brand and the band is part of the experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like you said, you smoke it with your eyes first, so it's an integral part for sure.
Yeah. As the part after the cigar, it's the only thing left. I mean, a lot of people collect the bands, or they make art, or they'll put them on their guitar, or they'll make a poster, or they put them in wine jars or whatever, empty Scotch bottle. Um, I feel the brand itself, as far as the symbol, it's kind of like the Batman symbol. Batman, what a great character, but without the symbol, like you see the symbol, you know who it represents. So, like when you see a symbol for a cigar, it should represent the brand.
Absolutely.
In both ways too. So if you're trying to advertise like Punch Diablo, like the name like that, it kind of has to be appropriate to the cigar. If it's a scary cigar and the brand looks like an angel wings, it's kind of deceiving. You kind of want to give, in my opinion, it's always smarter to give the smoker a heads up. You know what I'm saying though? Like if you call a cigar like Cohiba Black and you make the band pitch black, it's gonna give you a heads up. This is a dark cigar.
Yeah,
And
no, that's
so part of that is the color coding. I think is smart too. I mean, look at the Inspirado White or the Cohiba White on the Connecticut side. Um, although one day could we see a cigar with a complete white band, but the strongest full AJ? You never know. You might want to do like a sleeper cigar. I mean, but generally it's you don't go against the grain with bands.
yeah, no, I mean it pretty much always is kind of let's communicate what we're doing. Let's don't set yourself up to be misunderstood or taken the wrong way or anything
Who
like
does
that.
your artwork? Who does your artwork for your company?
We've got a lot of artists we work with. We've got a great team in house. Some really good designers, artists. We also we work with some folks outside of the company. Some agencies, some kind of individuals. So yeah, it's a wide, and it's nice to have a lot of artists that we can kind of tap into because different perspectives on different projects are really good to have.
Hmm, interesting. I know we talked about Rico Habano a lot. Are we ever going to see a push on that in the future, or maybe just rebranding or a newer blend, or just more availability in stores? or is that going to be? Because I still wish lounges carried that. I tell guys that's the strongest Habano cigar I ever had. And I'm so glad you sent it to me because that's something. It's funny. It's like you only know when you think there's a difference between what exists and what you think exists. And until I had that cigar, I was like, well, I didn't know General made an insanely strong Habano. Like that El Rico Habano was like, it's not a joke. And that was an old one, EP Carrillo blend when he had like that cigar is serious.
Yeah.
Like
No, it's a serious stick. I don't know. I mean, that's the brand manager for La Gloria Cubana is the one that handles that, and so it's not up to me, but it's a fantastic blend. I mean, I don't know how many shops it's in or what, but it's not one you see out very often. But yeah, no, it's a sleeper. It's a good stick, and I wish it got the attention it deserved.
well, that's what I'm here. I'm trying to bring it up to the guys here, and just let guys know try the experience because I had it twice, and I haven't tried this. Apparently, there's a broadleaf model. There's a Maduro model. Is that true?
Yeah, there is a Maduro, also very good.
Hmm. Now, somebody asked, "Do you have any questions for Richie? You got any questions for me?"
Yeah, man, how did you get into this? I mean, you've been doing it for a while, but how did you get started here?
You know, I always enjoyed smoking cigars with my friends, my family, at the lounges, and I always would talk a lot with the guys, and I would grow the ash or whatever, and then my uncle and my cousin-in-law at the time, because now he's divorced, he's gone, but they're like, you should make a YouTube channel, and I'm like, yeah, what am I gonna do that for? They're like, you're really good at it, you really know a lot about cigars, and you're personal, you're a funny guy, and I was like, and then finally I did it, and I remember when I first started the channel I wanted to have my angle, right? And other people might have like no matter what their episode is a not a shtick, but like what they want to do. Not to say anyone else's brands, but you watch different channels, they have a saying or they have this. So for me, I had a whiteboard. I went to the dollar store, and on the whiteboard it would say the price, it would say the blend, and then I have first third, second third, last third, and then basically it would have like a G, PG, PG-13 or R rating, and then marry, date, or die bar. And all these things were a factor. So marrying a cigar would mean it's reliable, it's available, it's not going to cheat on you, it's not so high maintenance. Dating means it's not so available, but it's really good, but you're not sure about it yet, or you might just have it, here and there, but you don't know. And then you had the dive bar, was like this thing's really exotic. It's really either not worth the money, or it's way too expensive, or maybe you're embarrassed to smoke it. But you'll smoke it, but in a dark place. You know what I'm saying? Though, so
Right.
oh, it was a really in-depth concept. But I would tell you what, it was a lot of work, and the marker board was a lot of writing. You know what I'm saying? It was like a scientific process, and I might have did it for a while, and then one day I think I forgot the marker board in the car, and then I just stopped doing that, and I just kept going, whatever. I just in the beginning it was just reviews, and it was just me talking, and I was doing 40-minute videos, hour videos, and most reviews are 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and so I review like the whole cigar and smoke it the whole time. It was a different, but I would do monologues and joke around a lot, and when I'm just by alone, my imagination, because I would always look at the paper beforehand or the news on TV or my phone. And I would think of 5 or 6 funny stories or crazy things, and I would always infuse that in there, and so it was almost like a news segment, a comedy segment, and then I built the following. And up until like 2 years ago, dude, I had like 1,500 videos, and then once I'd always talk to the guys through the comment section afterwards, and then once they offered me the live when I had 1,000 subscribers, that changed everything because the live, it was so much more interactive. And then you could see the people, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, and that's where it really grew. You know what I'm saying? Though? But I
Right.
was different locations in New York and Long Island and New York City or wherever I was in America. I would use the background. I would smoke in cemeteries. I had so many reviews. I mean, old cemeteries like from the 1700s. Like nobody visits them, and then at the sunset, it would look really cool, man. These 1700 like Revolutionary War cemeteries, Long Island. But then as the sun was going down, I'd be like, I gotta get out of here because I started hearing like animal noises or like creaks in the woods, and I'm like, okay. There was times where I was a little freaked out because being in a cemetery from the 1700s, like at 10 o'clock at night, and you duct tape your iPad to a TV, you know, I would never tape it to the what do you call the what do you call that? The cemetery. I can't even think now. You know, when someone dies, they put a headstone or something.
Oh yeah.
I would never, that'd be disrespectful. But I would just be sitting there in the beautiful cemetery, and it was just different. No one would do that. And Long Island is so old, it's from the 1600s. There's so many locations that are sacred. They won't knock them down, you know?
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah. And I would show like the people's names, and and I'll tell you a story about that real quick. I'm gonna drop this answer so I can relax. I took one of my trips to Vermont. In Vermont, if you've never been to Vermont, it's the most beautiful state in America. And you go from, I would take the Port Jeff ferry through Connecticut, and then Massachusetts on the Route 8 and go to Vermont. And I always loved going to Vermont with my friend or myself. I felt like he would call me to Vermont. And I don't know why. One of the times when I was going, I felt like I belonged there. So when I was driving through one time to go to Vermont just for a one night stay, I pulled off on an exit. I didn't want to smoke a cigar. I'm halfway up to Burlington. I pull off on the exit. It's called Windsor, Vermont. I should have pulled off. I said, I'm going to stop at the first cemetery. I stop at a cemetery, and I'm looking in the biggest obelisk, the old stone statue. I see it all in the back. I said, I'm going to go smoke my cigar over there. I walk up to it. On the life of my daughter, my name is Damon, but my mother's family name is Damon. Like, my mother named me after her maiden name.
Uh-huh.
The Damons came over during the Mayflower in the 1600s from England, and
Huh.
we knew about the family history. They've been there since the 1600s in Massachusetts. So all the Damons, hence like Matt Damon from Boston, Massachusetts, there's a good chance I'm related to him from my mother's side. The Damons have been in England, in New England for a long time. The first obelisk I walked to, his name was Ezekiel Damon. I'm gonna mess that up. No, Luther Damon, and he had my birthday, exact date, December 17th, right? And he was born in the 1700s. And all of his children were the names of my cousins that are alive now:
Huh.
Joseph, my Jennifer, Sarah, and I'm like, and the name was Sarah Damon. I have a cousin, Sarah Damon. Joseph Damon. I have a cousin, Joseph Damon. Jennifer. I have an aunt, Jennifer Damon, and Luther Damon. And I felt like for a moment in time, because what would make me walk there and come a random exit off of a highway in Vermont and just walk up to that thousands of headstones. And I felt like for a moment I was visiting myself from a past life. And it was really eerie, the same birthday. And when I looked at the history of Luther Damon, he signed the Declaration to make the state of Vermont right there at the church. He
Really?
made, and guess what? He wasn't from Vermont. He was from Massachusetts. They said he came from Massachusetts. He was a very wealthy family, but he went there because I was right by a mountain. They would get rock for granite, for tables, and for buildings, and they would ship it down the river and take it down to Manhattan, into England, and New England, and everything else. So it was really interesting. The chances of going there to find, I went to a random spot, found myself in a past life, all my family's there, and exactly where they made the state of Vermont. And my whole life, I go up, I would say, I feel like I belong in Vermont. What are the chances of that? And it was all through a cigar.
That is wild. Like, what are the odds of that? Yeah. No, it's incredible the stuff that cigars are kind of lead you to. It's
They
yeah.
say smoke leads to the spirit world. And no joke, I have a picture I'll have to send you on your phone. I was smoking a cigar one time on my old apartment. It was a basement apartment in Long Island, and there was a vent behind me with for a dryer, and all the smoke would come out, And I'm just standing. I took a picture, like a selfie, but in the background, no joke, is a spirit with red glowing eyes, and you can tell it has long hair, and it was like standing right behind me, just like looking right at my eyes. And
Huh.
you can make this. Also, when you see this picture, I should send it to one of those ghost stories things. It was kind of really creepy, but I was just like, all right, so I don't know. Be careful around a lot of smoke and take a picture because you might see something you don't want to see. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I know we're going off in the deep end here, but like, uh, I truly believe the spirit world is real, and that goes both ways. There's evil spirits and good spirits, but how can we infuse the spirit world with cigars? Next to 10, I guess that's you know,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if we could do that. Are you gonna have like psychics at Boulevard? Like, all right,
Yeah, in some ways, we already do. You know what I mean? We're talking about these people that came before us, and I think a lot of people get together and smoke cigars and talk about people who are now, spirits. So it's yeah. In some ways, we already do.
There's so much past. I have this book um, because I belonged to a group back in the day. I was very active in the Masons, and they gave me a book. And this book is from the 1700s. It was called The History of the State of New York. It was written in 1862. The real history of what was happening is so amazing. All the little details. It would blow your mind. It would blow your mind just to read this. I mean, all the real history and the real names of the people that made the towns, let's say New York and Long Island, because they've been there since the 1600s, And did you know that back in the 1600s, the local constables were trying to stop the young men from playing a game called Ding Dong? You know what Ding Dong was?
No.
The first guy would get on his horse and get liquored up. He'd ride his horse to his nearest friend, shoot his musket pistol at his door, and the friend would be like, "Oh shit, my friend's here." The friend would open the door, and then you'd have to invite him in. You drink all of his whiskey. Both of you got on two horses and went, and he would pick the next guy. So eventually, the whole town was riding around horses, shit faced, shooting at people's doors, playing ding dong. It said the local constable eventually told he banned it because it was such a ridiculous, dangerous game. But it said to no avail. He couldn't stop the men from playing. And these were the Dutch. It says the Dutch teenagers would never stop playing ding dong.
Huh. That is nuts. Yeah,
It's
that's
on your wildest night, you would never think about jumping on a horse and be like, "Get the Glock." You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, how crazy were people back then?
no, it is true. As crazy as people are now, like on some level, they've always been nuts.
Dude,
That's funny.
imagine the last guy because the more you played, the more guys came. So, the last guy, if you have 20 guys shooting muskets, there's the house is just guys.
Oh my god.
you know,
Yeah.
the intensity grew. But then again, the more they drank, the worse their aim probably was. At that point, they're probably just like, it's just like a bunch of pirates. Did you know that
Yeah.
the Revolutionary War? Did you ever hear of the Red Rag?
No.
Okay, you're gonna learn something tonight. During the Revolutionary War, because remember in New York, especially in New York City, that's where the hub was for the British soldiers and the sailors, and they were from there because they would fight the Americans in upstate New York or in Jersey or Connecticut. So there was little strongholds of both sides, and they'd have skirmishes. So it wasn't like one sustained battle in one area. Well, Long Island, because here you have New York City, Long Island's a long island and very far away. So it's harder to control the Eastern Long Islanders. They're more rebels and everything, and they had little boats and ships, and they get supplies and muskets from Connecticut and back and forth. And they had these whaler guys that were pirates that would steal for the British at nighttime and whatever. But anyways, if you were loyal to the British Empire, you had to put a red rag in your hat or your shirt, or else if you were riding around at night or if they thought you were a rebel, they could shoot you on sight. So what happened was red rag during the Revolutionary War became so valuable. But also, the people that were against the British were smart. They started wearing red rag just to almost be a spy and be like, yeah, I'm with the king. I got a red rag. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it became a really, also at the beginning of the war, you had to, if you were on Long Island, you had to go to New York City and get a restraining order. It was an order of protection and you'd put it, you pay for it, and the king they would give it to you marked by the King of England, and you'd put it on your door. And so when the British would come through, they would not attack your house because you obviously swore allegiance to get that order of protection.
Right.
These little pieces of history, I never learned about the Red Rag or Ding Dong, and that was like on page 4. This book from the 18th, it's in the Library of Congress. They're going to keep a record of that forever. This book is so. You picture how much history have we lost in 200 years?
Oh yeah. No, that's certainly a ton of it. But no, that's all very interesting.
Here's the thing: how do we infuse that old history of American ingenuity and rebelliousness and make cigars off of that?
Yeah. No, That's right. It's an interesting kind of vein to tap. With Boulevard. We do kind of get to look back on history and kind of draw from some of that stuff that really happens, and maybe some people know about it, maybe some people don't. But it is cool to get to work on a brand like that does play with the history some. So
Yeah,
uh,
maybe you could make a revolutionary line where you use little themes from the Revolutionary War. You know,
yeah, no, it's interesting. There's a lot of potential there.
well, what kind of blend would you make for different revolutionary cigars? I mean, what would be the concept? I was If you just go full American blends, I feel like not to say that'd be boring, but you kind of expect that. So I feel like the artwork and the concepts would be there. I mean, these kind of thinkings like we're here right now. Is that how when you want a totally new concept, like as far as a new lineup in a brand or a new brand, who power storms this shit? Who you have to have people with imagination, right? People that are not afraid to think of something and go, oh, that's stupid. But, after the fourth or fifth idea, you may go, hold on, what'd you say? So, like, who do you have? Do you have people that just create shit, or is it a team? Or, how's that work as far as imagination?
There's a lot of imagination. I mean, you've spoken to Ed Lehman. That's he alone is like a whole team of people coming up with ideas. But yeah, we all sort of do that. That is very much a collaborative process. I mean, people will kind of brainstorm and say, yeah, is this dumb? Is this a good idea? That, and just kind of bounce stuff off of each other. But I'm really glad that I've got this team. We all have this team that we can kind of red team stuff and figure stuff out together, because it's I mean, obviously there are some ideas you can trace back to one guy pretty much, but most everything you see, like, we get each other's input all the time, and we're always talking about it with each other. So it's
Interesting.
yeah.
Johnny Bosco says, if you could enjoy a cigar with a famous person, living or dead, who would you smoke it with?
I would love to smoke a cigar with Mark Twain.
You could have to smoke a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I would. I don't know if I'm up for it, but I would like to try at the very least. But yeah, no, Mark Twain is. I mean, he's always witty. He's always clever. You never think of him holding a grudge, or being real difficult or anything. So I think he'd be pleasant. Um, Obviously, to our earlier conversation about history, I think you'd learn a lot too. So either him or Winston Churchill, but I suspect Mark Twain might be a little bit more pleasant company.
Yeah, Mark Twain, he would smoke from the time he woke up to the time he went to bed. Like, he would smoke all day and night. Literally, he said the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed. And he'd
Wow.
fall asleep, the cigar would go off, Yeah, like he smoked. If he was awake, he was smoking. But it said he would purposely buy barrels of the cheaper cigars because he liked them better. He liked the, I guess, the more rough cigars, and they were more smaller ones. But he'd buy a barrel back then. I forget the price for a barrel of cigars. But imagine smoking, let's say, a barrel of, like, who knows, like petite Coronas, like, all day. That's just impressive. Like the same cigar, like people back then didn't get bored. They were just happy to have something. Like today, it's like, well, if I'm smoking two cigars, it's got to be different, right? Back then, holy shit, like they smoked one brand for life. That was it.
Yeah, no, that's that's definitely different than it is now. But yeah, don't imagine we're selling them by the barrels anytime soon. But
It would be very expensive. It would not be cheap, man. So you have work tomorrow?
I do. I should probably get to bed sort of
Yeah, you
soon.
gotta get to sleep. But what time do you have to get up early? It's pretty late for you now.
Yeah, it's pushing midnight. So
Sleep, my friend. Well, it was such a pleasure having you on. I picked your brain of 1,000 questions, and I hope it didn't bore you with that. But it really is a great time to just talk about the brand, just talk about cigars in general too. And I really appreciate it.
no, and Damon, thank you for having me on the show. It's a ton of fun. I get to do this every day. I have an incredible job. I love talking about it, and I never know what it is I do that people find interesting or have questions about. So it's a really cool treat to get to talk to you and kind of answer some of these. But yeah, thank you. It's been
Right.
a treat. And
And much love, and we just all love. We're just a bunch of guys that love cigars, man. So I look forward to the future. And do you, do you, maybe one night, do you ever hang out at Lemont, or you guys live in different states? Or
no, he's just up the road. So
one night we'll get you guys both on.
yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have to do that soon. I think. Hopefully he's if he's watching, he'll hopefully get that message. But
Yeah, we gotta have an earlier shift. I'm not sure what time he goes to bed. So
yeah, he's got kids too, so that's I don't want to mess with his bedtime.
no. Well, God bless you, man, and I'll see you around, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time, and have a great one.
All right, bro. Peace out, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Yeah. Good night.